Hello, Christian here, and I'm the host of the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show. And I know I say this at every episode, but today's guest, he's not a special guy. He's one of those guys. If you guys follow us and you, our listeners, you know we just pushed out over 100 episodes. And us as a team, we gotten together and we reached out to a few people. Who do we want to have on the show to provide some valuable feedback? And every time we reached out to our network, this one guy's name came up all the time. And we were like, yeah, should we check him out? I started reading his first bio, first sentence. I was like, shit, we need to bring this guy on. We have this guy for you today, starting in a bit. Hello, we are back. Again, my name is Christian. I'm the host of the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show. And today's guest was one of them. We had so many people came to us and said, this guy's really good in marketing. You need to bring him on. And not just is he really good in marketing, he has a podcast around marketing. And not only does he do podcast, you know what, Christian? He does so many other cool things. And when you start to talk to him, you will realize he's an amazing human being. So today, I'm really excited to have this conversation with Justin Ulrich. Thank you for coming to our show and welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I was curious who you're going to introduce. I'm like, where is this other person? I don't see him on stage here.
So, Justin, first off, thanks for doing this for us. As you know, our podcast is all about helping chefs to start think differently. Because therefore, the Disruptive Chef, we want to disrupt the way they think because we honest believers that every chef has skills, tools, techniques they know they need to share, and they all have skills which are transferable. And every chef thinks they are great in marketing. Reality is they always suck. And, you know, if I thought I was a great marketing until I hired my first marketing person, I realized how bad I actually was. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So tell our audience a little bit, where you're calling in from, what do you do, and how you wound up doing marketing.
Yeah, I'm calling from Denver, North Carolina, which is just north of Charlotte. No one's really ever heard of it, which is kind of funny, but bought a house here sight unseen. So, you know, you get what you get living in a small town, but love it here. You know, I lead the marketing team here at Evocalize, where we help automate local digital marketing based on local data, you know, across all the big channels. We can fully automate activation, deactivation of ads instantaneously. So really cool technology. I got into marketing. Actually, it's a fun story for me anyway. I started right out of my undergrad. I got an undergrad in economics. I started in tax accounting and realized very quickly that I have a personality that is not suited for tax accounting. I was probably one of the only people that was like boisterously laughing and being a little louder, you know, on the floor of like a room full of tax accountants. And it was just one of those things where I realized, man, this probably isn't the best fit for me in my career. And I had some really, really, really good mentors at the time that they were both, you know, marketing leaders at some pretty well-known brands in different industries. And they just gave me the direction to, hey, have you thought about marketing? Because they knew my personality and they could see that it wasn't a fit what I was doing. And, you know, so I went back to school for my MBA. And, you know, while I was getting my degree, I reached out to my network for free opportunities saying, hey, I'd like to get into marketing. Can I help you do some things? And did a ton of work for free, built my resume, and it went from there, you know. So now I've been in many different industries, telecom, POS, SaaS companies. I've worked for business to consumer as well at Polaris, and now I'm back in SaaS, and we're industry agnostic. But I personally, you know, tend to focus more on the restaurant space. So it's been a ton of fun getting back into it. I was in restaurant SaaS at Avero, leading their marketing team for a couple of years back before COVID. So getting back has been a lot of fun.
That is awesome. I love that story. And yes, you have too much personality for doing tax accounting because no offense to my accountant, Tim, if you're listening, nothing personal, but he invites me to lunch all the time. I never go. And
oh no.
He's a nice guy, not a lunch crowd. He's very good in what he does. Very conservative in what he does, which it's a good thing. We don't want to get audited by the big guys, but
That's right.
he's really good in what he does. But hanging out for lunch, he's not my guy. He's not my guy.
What's funny is probably one of my best friends. I've been friends with him since we were 20. Our kids have grown up together. He's a tax accountant. He's a partner at a hedge fund, but it's one of those things that he actually was able to stick with it because his personality is very similar to mine. But I'm having more fun, I can guarantee that.
My guy, Tim is amazing. He has 5 points for everything. So if I tell him, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it over the day, he says, oh, there's 5 reasons why, Christian. You didn't plan your day. You put too much on your plate. There's 5 things he has on everything. And that's his thing. So we call him 5-point Tim.
That's funny. It's 5 guy.
Yeah, he's the guy who always has a reason for everything.
Yeah.
And he's my age. And, you in the same field as I am. And we hung out a little bit together. And he says, you know what, Christian, I was thinking about retiring. Where do you going to go? I want to do Northern Virginia, maybe Southern. I don't want to go much further than Charlotte. And I said, what are you talking about? I want to scale. I don't want to retire. And just, there's 5 reasons why you should retire early. And, he's one of those. So for you, I'm really interested in knowing. So doing tax is something totally different than marketing. So what is marketing for you? And if for our listeners, which have their own idea of what marketing is, what do you think marketing is from your perspective?
I've spent a lot of time in demand gen specifically as a focus, and also through channel marketing or partner marketing. Marketing, there's many facets of it, right? You've got demand gen, you've got brand, there's like digital, there's all sorts of different parts. Your brand is going to be the sum of all the interactions that somebody has with your business that amalgamates into what is known as a brand. It's the perception of working with your organization. So any touch point at all, whether it's through phone, email, it could be online, it could be in person, it could be, someone, if they're going to a restaurant, it's like the engagement with the server or the greeter, whoever it might be. All those things add up to the perception of your brand. Marketing is, trying to leverage things like your brand to drive demand in the marketplace. And it may be you need to drive a ton of awareness because you're new to the area and people don't really know you. They might not know your brand. Maybe they don't know your brand in your area, but they know you someplace else. So you want to figure out how to drive awareness that you exist. In other industries, it might be awareness to a problem that you solve, awareness to something. And then you want to align that with consideration set information. So, because you're trying to guide them through a journey of awareness, consideration, decision. In the consideration side of marketing, you're trying to get them to think, hey, should I consider doing this thing, going to this place? Should I consider eating here, getting a massage over here, shopping at this store? And if you think through your journey, if you're as a consumer, you're online, you're trying to figure out, like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go eat? You type in like best burger near me and you go online and, oh, here's some locations. These ones are near me. That's consideration. These reviews here, there's a good amount of stars. Okay. I like it. There's a lot of there's a high volume of 4 or 5-star reviews. Okay. This must be pretty good. So you're leveraging social proof to drive demand and get people to come through your door, because when you see that it's close to you, it's within the line of what you want. If it's a burger or whatever type of food, other people like it. Lots of other people like it. And then you look at like price, which is typically listed on those things too. Okay, it's within my price range. Let's go do this thing. And it's close by, So all these things drive consideration. In the B2B space, it could be testimonials and stuff like that. And then decision, hit them with an offer, something like that, to try to get them in your door.
I love that. So how did you wind up in the hospitality space?
I actually transitioned from a company called Vantiv. It was a payment processing company. Many have heard of, many acquisitions since, WorldPay. But I focused within channel marketing and it was kind of POS space. So trying to market to folks who could sell the solution into other establishments. So if you think
Mhm.
like Jeremy Julian, like we would try to convince him to sell, provide our payment processing over our competitors.
Yeah.
And in that space, there was someone from the company had gone over to Avero, and they had recruited me to join their team a couple of years later. And I joined it. I loved it. And if you don't know who Avero is, they were at the time they were a fantastic, like the number one restaurant analytics tool. We had like 95% of the Vegas Strip used the product. All the celebrity chefs, restaurant groups, you name them, they used it. And
Mhm.
so that gave me a lot of exposure into hospitality. And what I liked about it was not only, did I get to do like site visits at some of the best restaurants in New York City, and see how they're doing. Meanwhile, all the chefs were, they were bringing food out, compliments of the chef, try this, try that. It's not on the menu yet. Like they want to see what you
Yeah.
think. It became an art
It's so
to
awesome.
stir food around on your plate so that you didn't insult anybody because you ate so much because you went to a couple sites a day. So, but being in the hospitality space, that part was fun, but it also aligned with like what's at my core, you
Mhm.
know, serving others, kindness, wanting others to feel good, uh, you know, everything that is encapsulated with hospitality. It's like, man, I really like this space. It's a much warmer space than many others that
Mhm.
I'd already been in.
Yeah,
Telecom,
yeah, yeah.
payment processing, like you think, wah, wah, like boring, tax, you know. So it's a very fun space, and I absolutely love it. So when I came here, we're given, we kind of we're pretty heavily focused in real estate, and we are moving into other industries. And
It's
I
awesome.
thought restaurant would be an incredible space to be in, and so I took ownership of the restaurant space and heavily focused marketing
I
here.
I
And
love that.
our awareness is incredible right now in this space. We've got tons of momentum.
So, are you quietly judging people when you walk into a restaurant? Like, for me as a chef, when we go into the restaurant, I kind of look around. There's fingerprints on the door. They should really have wiped that down. When you wait in line with the hostess, that waiter just walked by this dish. He has empty-handed. He could have brought it with him, and that kind of stuff. So when you walk into a place, I call it quiet judging. Um, do you go walk into a marketing play or in a restaurant with your marketing hat on and says, I can't believe that did that. We stopped this in 82. Why are they still doing that? So
I was born in '82. So I don't know what you stopped then, but candidly, when I walk into a place, I have four kiddos, so when I walk into a
yeah,
place, I'm trying to figure out like how do I like minimize the chaos that's going to happen. Um, but if I'm by myself and we're doing like site visits and stuff, it's more about those things. Although you'd think I'd be more acutely aware, it's not something that comes to mind. And I'm not trying to. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Not to be not to my own horn. I'm typically default to like, um, uh, positive intent,
yeah, yeah.
just positivity, and so I tend to not be judgmental about certain things. Now, in marketing, though, if I do walk, like if I drive by a location, I do say things sometimes around like the
Mhm.
signage or the colors or the bathrooms. If the bathrooms are filthy, everyone's going to
Yep.
realize that all the other processes in place are out of whack.
Agreed.
Like there are some things that definitely stick out. But I'm more critical on the marketing side because I'm B2B. So
Mhm.
for those who don't
Yeah,
know, I market to a business because that's who we sell into.
yeah, yeah.
And I can look very easily. I could pick up on where businesses are doing things incorrectly, and especially in the areas where we're really focused from a product standpoint. So,
Yeah. For us, coming in as, being in the business, for me, my I don't want to call it a pet beef, but for me, I always like to ask, what is the special today? And do you have soup?
mm.
And they say, oh, I think we do. I think I'm gonna go ask. Okay. And I was like, an opportunity missed. And for me, those are the
Yeah.
little things. So if anybody owning a restaurant or your front of the house manager, listen to me. do pre-meal. If you do pre-meal, you tell them this is the soup, this is what you want to push. Because I happened to be out in the Chicago, St. Louis area last week for travel. I went to this small restaurant. Honestly, if I would have been by myself, I would have driven by. Not the most
Yeah.
hospitable area, but I walked in
Mm.
there. Breakfast was amazing. The
Mm-hmm.
young lady, I said, I would like this. She says, you know what? We currently don't have it on the menu, but I know we can make this for you. And as she came, she says, hey, you had this on your breakfast. Do you want me to make you this to go with it? I think he would be a great hit. I was like, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I walked out, $34 breakfast, and I went to a diner to try to stay under 20. But for me, that's one of those things. And I don't want to
Yeah.
say judging, we don't judge, but I think this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
just shows that it kind of comes together. And for me, having that little piece where somebody says, hey, these are the specials today, don't sound rehearsed, because we also
Yeah.
don't like that. Because if he
Yeah.
must have said it 300 times today already, but really
Yeah.
simple. And I always add one thing of personalization into it. And
Yeah.
for me, he said, hey, if for today, I had an Asian salad for lunch, So what I want him to say is we have an Asian salad for lunch, and it has
Mm.
the chef's special recipe chicken. I would
Yeah.
like to tell you what it is, but he doesn't even tell me, or hey, this
Yeah.
dress, this dressing is
Yeah.
homemade. It's unbelievable, amazing. Everybody who has it loves it. So if you add that little piece of personalization in it when
Yeah.
you make that recommendation, I feel heard. I feel like, this is amazing. I want to have that.
Yeah.
And for me, when we go into restaurants, and I always wondered how marketing people do. I'm sure they look at it. Oh, ooh, they have a flyer. They do table tents. Oh my God, when you need
I
one,
have. Yeah, I have done that actually.
you
But
take it to the
what is?
bathroom, rip it up, and make sure they don't have another
Yeah.
one.
But like, if you think about like the interactions, like you're talking with, they don't
Mhm.
have to say, "Oh, this is organic carrots that were grown in a farm,
Yeah,
east side of the Mississippi." It's like, be more personable,
correct.
because
Yeah.
the folks that servers engage with, anyone in the restaurant engages with,
Mhm.
they are going to remember how you make them feel.
Yeah.
They're not going to remember what you tell them, right? And also through the communication, you're also lending what we just referred to a little bit earlier, social proof.
Mhm.
So by saying I really like this thing, like I had a ton of guests that they really like it, because at the end of the day, I'm a bit cynical. Like if I typically don't ask, what the recommendation is, because I know that like in many instances it's like,
Yeah.
okay, if we have high inventory of a certain thing, we're going to try to push something, and it may not be the best thing, but I do often ask, like, what's your most popular, or
Mhm.
what do folks like, if you were to come to town one time, like, what's the one thing that you'd recommend I try, type of thing.
Mhm.
Then you get more to like, that's like the
Yeah.
banger.
My go-to is I tell the wait staff all the time. I ask them, I said, hey, I'm between this, and this. Okay, let me ask you the question differently. If we come to your house, you invite all of us, which are here to your house, and the chef is catering it, what will you ask him to cater for us? And they was like, oh my God, that's so
Yeah.
funny. I think he should do the chicken, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I think the hard thing is also being a server. It's
Yeah.
not a great job. It's not a pleasant job. People are usually
It's
angry.
tough.
And
Yeah.
food is very personalized, so it's easy to be picked apart. So let me pivot a little bit. You talked a little bit earlier around local marketing. So for
Hmm.
any business, especially hospitality business, how crucial is social marketing, and what can the impact be for them long term to knock it out of the park with local marketing?
That's a great question. So local marketing, we at our company, we focus on digital, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But there are other aspects. There's tons of aspects of local marketing. You think of like like community engagement. You could think digital, organic versus paid.
Mhm.
There's all sorts of different components. On the community engagement side, I think, because we just hit our 50th episode of our podcast, they're all about local marketing,
Yeah.
and we do multiple industries. So whether you're real estate, mortgage, restaurant, franchise outside of restaurant, like fitness, whatever, we get tons of insights around local marketing.
Yeah.
And like probably 60% of the time, one of the go-tos is around community engagement. Like we had Eric Knott, at the time, he was at PDQ. He's over at Tiki Taco now, but his episode, he brought up the concept of being the mayor. Like, do whatever you can to engage with anyone within your community. And having that one line, like being the mayor, it opens the door to like so many ideas.
I
I
love
could
that.
show up at like, and I could send my team to, or different games, little league games, football games, whatever. You could go to high school games. You can go to different venues that are holding other events. You could do all sorts of different things. You can also, coordinate with other folks, other businesses within the area. You could couple. So if I'm a smoothie establishment and I want to partner with the gym next door, like you could co-market together. Stop in after your workout and get 50% off, or post some stuff about hitting up the gym after they buy a drink, whatever. Right? There's so many things that you could do. The other part that always comes up too is highlighting like local heroes in your community. The hardest part about marketing sometimes is gaining access to an audience, building an audience, I should
Yeah.
say. If you leverage other folks who already have audiences in your area, you'll exponentially be able to access more people. So, for example, a podcast. We do this, we bring on guests, you're gaining access to my audience, I'm gaining access to your audience, and we're able to grow the amount of folks, or our reach, exponentially. You can do that within your community. If you go to, the shop next door, or the shop a couple rows down, once a week, you're going to highlight someone, whether it's someone front of house or someone maybe you work in the kitchen, whatever it might be, right? It could be inside, outside a restaurant,
Yep.
doesn't matter. Because when you establish these connections and you share other people's stories, you're able to not only gain access to their audiences, but also create brand equity with your own following. Like they're like, oh man, these guys are pretty cool. Like they're going out of their way to highlight other businesses in their community. Like they really get it. Right. And that type of approach, when you give, it will come back to you.
So good. So good. I absolutely love that. And, talking about local marketing, and you are really well versed in this because you did so many different things. How do you feel, or what are some of the common misconception or myths around local marketing?
If you look at marketing 10, 12, 15 years ago, right? It started like automation was really becoming popular. When I first started my career, it was like Eloqua is an Oracle tool.
Yep.
For email marketing, automation. You can create workflows. You can get in front of many people as possible. You could market at scale, and that concept took off. Now it kind of, people can sniff automated marketing that's not personalized, pretty easily. The radar is pretty dialed. So it's caused people to take a step back and think, from an automation standpoint, is this really working the best for my business? Because automation is great for hitting mass numbers, right? You could hit massive audiences. If I'm doing a digital paid campaign, and I run it, I could run a national campaign. I can get in front of a lot of people. But the catch is, and why people are moving away from that, is that no longer is it really that effective. Algorithms are changing. Like if I'm running a campaign and it's national, I'm going to put a ton of money against it because I'm a brand and I want to share the love with all my locations. Really, what's going to happen is those dollars are going to be spent in the big metros. So New York, Chicago, LA, large, high population density areas, because the algorithms they're trying to, if you think about from a business standpoint, they want to spend the money as fast as possible. And so, and so they're going to spend the dollars where there's tons of people. But meanwhile, your location in Des Moines is suffering because there's not a ton of business already. They're giving you, in many instances, they'll give 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 7%, whatever, of revenue, like for marketing to corporate, and corporate's not sending any love their way. But with tools now, like with Evocalize, for example, shameless plug, you can actually automate all your local digital at scale based on location specific data. So you're only spending in the locations that actually need the marketing. So if your sales are trending low, it'll automatically trigger a campaign Google, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, more, right around that location. So you're driving online orders, you're driving foot traffic right where it's needed.
I love that. And listen, no need to worry about plugging your company. The reason we have you on, because I honestly believe if anybody listening and they want to have marketing, they shouldn't just walk to your website. They should run to it and have you guys help them out. It's amazing the impact you make. So if I'm an independent restaurant, I have one restaurant. What is a single thing I can do, which is maybe a low cost marketing thing I can do to see an impact tomorrow? And then how about if I'm ready to take the plunge with a high level marketing, how can I engage with you and how can I bring your expertise to my facility?
If you're a single location, if you think, I would challenge you to think through like the customer journey. We talked a little bit earlier about how people are going to find your business.
Yep.
And you want to be findable where they're looking, when they're looking, right? So if I'm hungry now, what do? Like if I'm hungry right now, I'm going to take out my phone. I'm going to Google restaurants near me or whatever, right? And the algorithms are going to search up the thing that, things nearby that fall within the category that I typed in. And then all those other pieces fall into place, right? Where I talked about like, how much is it? What are the reviews? How many stars? And that is one where you can, if you're one location, you could manage that relatively easily, and it's very high impact. And I would argue that a lot of other voices out there that talk about restaurant marketing would say the same thing. It was high impact in roofing and home services and other industries I worked in as well. Like that is where people go to learn about what you have to offer. Now you got to keep it up to date. You got to keep your times posted correctly. You want to keep your menu up to date. You want to respond to reviews. Reviews is huge. Even if they're negative, you got to figure out a way to politely and tactfully respond. Let them know that you're dealing with the situation and that you appreciate their feedback. That's the authenticity and stuff that other guests love to see. That's high impact.
I love that. I have a local restaurant, and he on purpose, when he has a dish which didn't perform and somebody kind of calls it out, he says, I wait 5 days and I go back and then I reply to that message and say, hey, we heard you. We made some changes. I invite you to come back as my guest, have the dish again, and let me know how you like it. And he says, some people take you up, most of them don't. And it's just that you make yourself vulnerable. I'm willing to dish out some money to have this guy or this person come back and reevaluate it. I really love that, because for me, it shows that, people want to be heard. And you know what? If there's 2 or 3 people that night which said the chicken was dry, it's most likely that the chicken was dry. So let's do the right thing. So I absolutely love that. So that was a really good answer. So how would it pivot differently if they engage with a company like yours?
So we typically serve 100 plus locations. Sometimes we'll come down to like 50 if it's an emerging brand. But we think about whether you're 100 locations or you're 10,000, the more locations you have, your scale of your marketing efforts, it becomes impossible for a person to do. Could you imagine if I wanted to run a campaign at 10,000 locations on Google and on Facebook and on Instagram and on TikTok, right? It's impossible. Where our product does really, really, really well is in the automation. It's not a tech. There's a lot of competitors to us that are like technology veneers, where they'll serve up a UI, a user can go in and order a campaign, but behind the scenes that order is being placed possibly overseas, the Philippines, wherever, for someone to manually go in and create an order. We call it manumation, because it's not automation. If you have 10,000 locations and you have a solution like that, how long will it take for someone to place 10,000 campaign orders? It just doesn't work. But yeah, that's so we typically work with larger companies, and the benefit is you can also only market where it's needed. You're not running these national campaigns. So you let the data determine where you're marketing. We could market off of any data at all. So let's say you have inventory. We've got Smoothie King, they're a client of ours. They've got excess inventory of kale, and they know it's going to spoil pretty quickly. they can launch a promo automatically around 20% off Cal smoothies to try to drive people through the door. You can think of that. Think of it for steaks or anything that's going to spoil. You can cut down your waste there. You could take. There's other use cases around sales volume. We've got a client, Tzatziki's, where they've got, I think they're about 100 locations now, and they have, it's always on as a program that if any of their locations falls below their year-over-year comps on like last week, if their sales are low, then they will automatically trigger an ad, Google, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all at once. And it will drive people to that location. And they're pushing their new item, falafel, which has been selling gangbusters, and they're able to increase sales 30% in those locations.
That is awesome.
So it really is a powerful tool that no one even has to touch. I could, like, how does it work? Pick up your coffee, take a drink. Like, that's how it works. So, like, it's literal magic, as close as you can get. And operators are reaping the rewards from it without even having to do anything.
Love that. I love that. So overall technology, we talked a lot about technology, what do you do? So what do you think, where is technology taking marketing, or where is marketing or local marketing taking advantage of technology?
You have to, AI is big. Obviously everyone's going to say that. I talked about how the perception of marketing is kind of like people can sniff out, things that aren't authentic and are automated. But if you can automate your marketing in a way that is tailored to your audience, then you've got something magical there. If you could, because if you think about your any listener out there, like you have different audiences who are going to come to you for different things, right? And you want to segment them. It could be by age, it could be by what they've ordered in the past, it could be how long ago they visited, all sorts of different segmentation that you can create campaigns around. And you can actually market to them with messaging that it resonates, it's relevant to them. You don't want to serve like happy hour, messaging to someone who's brought their kids in 5 times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you want to make sure you're pushing the right message to the right audience. So data and segmentation is huge. We talk a lot about data. I mean, you hear a lot in the industry. At every show you go to, people are on stage talking about data. One of the things that did come up though, and I respected in the last show, one of the last shows I went to, I think it was Greg Majewski, had said something around, and he's CEO of Prairie Foodie Brands, if you guys don't know. He said something around data and how there is just so much of it, and it can be paralyzing. Buying tools sometimes when there's all of this data is not, it may not be the best bet if you don't have someone to manage the data and to make sense of it. Some tools like ours can make sense of it for you, but there's a lot of tools, marketing or otherwise, that they collect a lot of data, and it's like, oh wow, this is great to get all these insights, but how much time am I going to take truly digging through this and finding actionable things for me to do? I think that if tech companies really want to develop a product that is impactful and powerful, if you could figure out a way to take the insights that you're delivering, leverage, rope in AI, and have it actually crank out actionable insights, whether or not they're even in the platform. Now, if you want them to go into the platform, if you want to use it to go into the platform to check something, or maybe you want it in weekly or daily even to make it sticky, give them teasers like, check out these 3 things that we think you should do today to increase your sales by 3%. Something like that, right? How magical would that be? And then you're going into the platform and it gives you actual specific things to do. That's where things are going, and why I think AI, is one of the powerful things that the AI is going to be able to help deliver, because you don't necessarily have to have someone to make sense of the data.
I love that. So good. So good. Let me pivot a little bit. Earlier we spoke about you have a podcast. Where did podcasting come in and all the things you do?
It was honestly, I actually wrote a post about this morning because we just had our 50th episode go live this week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's a weekly thing, once a week. Where it came in was I was trying to solve for a few things. So when I started back in November of 22, we had white labeled our solution into other technologies for the most part. I think we did every customer that we had was white labeled. And what that means for those who don't know is we would take our technology, sell it to another tech company, and they would offer our solution, but with their wrapper, their look and feel. And so if you think about from a marketing standpoint, like we had 1.5 million users having access to our platform. Roughly 60% of real estate ads run across our platform. We're huge in real estate. But no one knew who we were.
Yeah.
And that is an incredible awareness challenge. How do I drive people to buy as a marketer? That's my goal, generate demand to try to drive revenue. How do I do that if no one even knows who I am? So it's literally like you're standing up a company from nothing within an industry and trying to get people to pay thousands of dollars for a solution. And it's kind of crazy when you think of it that way. Now, podcasting was one of those things where I saw it as an avenue. First I saw it as a big pain in the butt, and I didn't want to do it because I knew it was gonna be a long-term commitment that I was like, oh, dude, this isn't something I have time for. I have to do all these other things to generate awareness and try to drive leads and working down the funnel. But it was one of those things that I had some encouragements from some great folks. I called out earlier, Sean Walchef, Zach Oates, Troy, Scott, all these guys. They said, you need to just do it. And here's why. It offers a way to leverage other people's audiences. Not only am I just trying to push out content and build my own audience, but I can quickly build my own audience and gain awareness within any industry that I focus on, that I bring guests on within, right? So it helps me so I'm driving awareness. It helps me build relationships with those that I'm bringing on. So if you create a podcast in the space that you operate and you want to try to generate prospects, that's a great way to generate prospects to talk to. They could potentially be leads of your business. And it's a very targeted way to generate them with folks that fall within your ideal client profile. So you're able to bring on prospects. You're also building relationships, and you're building them with a potential prospect, but you're also building trust and rapport with someone who can then introduce you to the next person to bring on your podcast, to introduce you to other folks within the industry. And you develop a friendship and relationship with folks in a way that you otherwise wouldn't be able to, because, oh, by the way, you're helping them promote their business. So with our podcast, we do a really great job of, and I've got a fantastic team. It's small. There's 3 of us that help manage the podcast.
Yeah.
But we leverage tools that are AI based to help create derivative content from the long form content that we create from our videos. And we're able to then also create content not only for ourselves to blast across the airwaves, but also for our guests. We create like guest blog posts that they can share on their website, which will also guide people back to ours. Yep. We create videos for them to leverage. We create a fun thing we do. Christian, I know you're going to be on our show pretty soon. Buckle up. We create an AI image of our guest. It's one of my favorite. It's one of the favorite parts of my job, honestly. I'll take inputs from things that the guest likes, and I create an AI image, and it creates a fun, engaging way to also share a piece of content to their audience. People, they'll laugh at, they'll think it's great, it's entertaining, whatever. And it also humanizes the way that we engage with each other, because when you do a podcast, it's not a business. It really isn't a business relationship. The cool thing about it is I'm confident I can call on any of my guests that I've had on and say, hey, the sales team thought we had a great conversation and you'd be an awesome fit. Would you be open to a conversation? I'm confident they'd all say yes. There'd be a few exceptions potentially, but because you're establishing a human connection. And with that connection, we constantly are dripping out and pushing out, promoting pieces that have their brand associated with it. So if you look at some of our early guests, like, whether it's Jeff Alexander from Wild Bow, or like Betsy Ham from Duck Donuts, or, whoever it might be, we still are pushing content because we have a scheduler that we're able to push content out in the future, 2 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks out. And so as you do that, you're also ramping your content production so that you're flooding the airways with your brand. And so our awareness has been through the roof in terms of LinkedIn specifically is where we really focus, but other platforms we're starting to push more across. But yeah, it's been exponentially, it's been incredible for our business.
I love that. LinkedIn, we have a little bit over 30,000 followers. We haven't done a lot with LinkedIn yet. So we need to buck it down and do LinkedIn. So it's next on our list. One last question.
Honestly, sorry, not to cut you off,
Yeah.
but to cut you off, LinkedIn is probably the most impactful, I think, underutilized platform out there, because there's so many ways that you connect with folks, not just from a business standpoint. If you're a chef, you may or may not want to continue to work at the same place, your entire career, or if you're anyone for that matter. So you're establishing connections and network that allows you to, in a downtime, be able to find a way to move on, and more quickly recover if you happen to go through like a layoff or something like that.
Yeah, I love that. That's some really good advice. And for us, that's certainly in our radar. Speaking of radar, what are you focusing on for the next 30 days on a business side? And what are you focusing on for the next 30 days on the personal side?
That is a good personal side. I don't know. I have some side projects for some family members that I'm working on, rebuilding a website and some other content for two different businesses. So that's something that I definitely, it keeps me busy. And also we've got 4 kiddos, so that keeping them like in line is what I'm focused on for the next 30 days. But on the business side, there's a lot of focuses. I think I'm trying to take a really critical look through a critical lens at the processes that we have in place. Because again, as a reminder for those who are listening, like I lead a marketing team, so I'm trying to figure out. You spend a lot of money on acquisition, and this principle, now I'm talking to it, it really applies very, very closely to business. I'm spending a lot of money on acquisition. We're getting a ton of leads, and there's an opportunity to put processes in place to help convert those leads at a higher rate. So instead of having to spend more and more and more money to get more quality leads, I could put processes in place to better nurture folks along, so that I ensure that the conversations with the sales team continue to happen, and we don't have any leads that are dying on the vine, or we're not losing touch with anybody. It's the same type of thing. If you think from a business standpoint, restaurant or otherwise, if you're driving guests to a location and you have everything that's like, we talked about the bathrooms, if they're out of whack, like other processes, people are going to know they're out of whack. Like, what is the guest experience that you're providing? If you don't have your guest experience dialed, but you're spending a lot of money on top of funnel trying to drive people there, you're throwing good money after bad. Like you're constantly going to be operating with this leaky bucket. But if you plug the hole and you get everything squared within your 4 walls, and then you focus on marketing, then you're going to be driving the same volume of people to a much better experience, which is going to increase your repeat visitors, right? And it's going to drive even more people there, because now if someone's having an incredible experience, what do? The hope would be that they want to be heard, and they're going to go on and leave a review, so then you're able to leverage those reviews to drive more and more of them and drive even more business into your doors. So it's this flywheel that just continues to turn. You have to make sure you've got everything in order. And it's not something you could do like day one. I can't say, poof, everything's in order. I'm not going to market until I do that. But you need to consider like your processes and keep marketing going while you fix these other things, instead of focusing solely on marketing.
I love that. So good. I know I can talk to you forever, but I want to be respectful of your time. You wanted to stay within 30 minutes. We are coming up to 45 minutes. So, but before we wrap it up for the day, tell everybody where they can get you to follow you and find out more about what you do.
Yeah, you could check out Evocalize on all channels, Evocalize. That's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, X. We also have the local marketing lab. That's on all your podcast channels, as well as on LinkedIn and on our website, evocalize.com. And then follow me. It's Justin C. Ulrich on LinkedIn. I tell people just look for Justin Ulrich and find the one that's the coolest looking. But that may just be my inflated view of myself. So, you could match the picture to what you're seeing right now. But yeah, I love connecting with people and just, forming relationships, giving insights, etc.
That's awesome. We really appreciate you sharing your insight, and thanks for being here today. But before we wrap it up, my team just handed me a new set of rapid fire question, and I warned you in the beginning of this. So we have 30 questions, and we will do 4 or 5 of them. So the way it works is you give me a number between 1 and 30. I read the question for you, and then we want to have a response from you. See where this takes us. Okay, you ready?
Take a drink. Yeah, we'll start with number 10.
Number 10. Ooh, that's a good one. What is your favorite food-related movie or TV show, and why?
Oh, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, just because it's so ridiculous, vivid. It's just a lot lot of fun. And the dad on it with the eyebrows is hilarious.
Awesome. And if anybody hates it, you suck. Okay, question number 2. Give me a number. 1 to 30.
16.
16. Oh. What is a kitchen gadget you can't live without?
Y-shaped peeler. Can't live without it. I peel so many friggin' vegetables for my kids getting lunch ready in the morning. 4 kids. So I couldn't live without it. I literally couldn't.
Awesome. Okay, between 1 and 30.
7.
7. Which cuisine do you find needs to go away tomorrow?
Yes. I probably one that I don't eat a lot of would maybe just be Thai, maybe. I like it, but I never think that, I want to go get some Thai food. But like Indian food, chicken tikka masala, like I'm on that all day.
Yeah. Good. Okay, one more question. Give me a number between 1 and 30.
17.
17. Oh, what is the best business advice you ever received and didn't act on?
And didn't act on? Oh my goodness. I don't even know what I didn't. Probably initially the podcast thing. Honestly, it took me 6 to 8 months to get it going. And I had the encouragement of folks that you have to do it. I just started. I stopped waiting. I stopped planning. I just did it, and it worked out really well.
Awesome. So with that, Justin, thanks for being here today. I love this conversation. You need to promise our audience we're going to do a 2.0 of that, and then we're going to talk a little bit more on what's going on your family side and everything else. But we want to bring to our audience really people which amazing human beings. And having 4 kids, I have 4 kids. You must be an amazing dad, because otherwise we wouldn't do it. So I really appreciate you being here today. Thanks for the gift of your time. And to our listeners, if you haven't done so, make sure you take this episode, send it to a friend, make sure you like it, save it, and also go back. There was a few things he talked about local marketing, which anybody can do. If you sell window seats, toilets, or food, the principles are the same. It was absolutely powerful. You guys need to check it out. So with that, I want to say thank you for being here today. Until next time, remember to disrupt your kitchen, fire up your career, stay hungry for change. I'm Christian here with Mr. Justin. We are the hell out of here. We are signing off. So go out there, be the change, be the challenge, and be the chef who sets the world on fire.